Olivia, good evening and thank you for your time. Can I just say to you, and I'm sure Peter shares the sentiment, you write beautifully. I'll give you a high distinction for English.
Thank you very much. if nothing else, then that's a plus.
So, why did you write the letter to me?
First of all, I'm here to represent the farmers of not only my district, my state, but my country. We're in desperate times out there, Alan, and someone's got to tell the story, and I'm here to do so.
You said in your letter to me, the emotional impact is unfathomable. Coping mechanisms are long past exhausted. As a Year 11 student, schoolwork, although valued, is not a priority. You said, I travel over a 200-kilometre round trip just to get to and from school. By the time I get home, it's often draining to come back to more work. My family cannot afford a laptop, which is a requirement of the school, and I try not to burden them with yet another thing to add to the long list of bills. I actually should make the point that I raised that point on my radio station, and Olivia, I think, has got enough laptops to provide for every child in New South Wales.
And I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll buy you a laptop.
That's right, we're all into that.
Oh,
but you said, you did say, Olivia, there are many students like me, and this is the tragic thing, who are prematurely forced to grow up and alleviate the stresses carried by their parents. Can I just say, we just say, you've done a wonderful, wonderful job articulating this, but do you think the nation understands? Does Canberra understand?
I think that's a major problem we're facing at the moment. There's a big battle that we're facing in regional Australia. It's a crisis, basically. We're at breaking point. And there's been a massive loss of connection between both the federal government and regional communities. We're struggling out there. But it's a time where communities are forced to band together, and we're kind of working with what we've got and trying our best. But yeah, it's hard.
You said we need to see, I mean, this letter was unbelievable. She writes beautifully. We need to see substantial assistance from those in positions of authority. You said, differing from the absurd school strikes, I don't have a choice. It appalled me that Greta Thunberg was considered for a Nobel Peace Prize when she wouldn't last a day in the life of a farmer. These people don't represent you, do they, Olivia?
No, and that's a frustrating bit, and that's why I came to talk to both you and Peter today. I think it's admirable that I think it's noble that we see youth around trying to help, and that's something that we need to highlight, that people want to help, they just don't know how to. And we really need to bridge that connection between metro areas and regional Australia, and we need to have tangible solutions. We can't just go and complain. We need to ensure that we're going with the appropriate evidence and backing up what we're saying, and we need to come up with solutions.
How does a 16-year-old...
I am blown away. And
yeah.
I tell you what, Olivia, if I was still working in politics and I was working for a Prime Minister, I would have you in the office tomorrow to just tell people exactly what needs to happen from your perspective out in the bush, because so many of our Canberra class have got no idea what it's like to grow up in the bush, let alone a drought-affected community.
See, Greta Thunberg can address the United Nations. Why can't Olivia address the federal cabinet? Well,
correct. Why can't she? And why isn't you sitting down there in David Littleproud's office as of tomorrow, talking through some of the ideas and policies that get thrown up by the departments that don't have any real impact? I mean, I'm just so impressed by you, Olivia.
I admire a lot of those politicians who have a hard job, but we really need to collaborate with these individuals and make our message heard. And I'm happy to do so, but we need to make sure that, like I said, we're working in a collaborative format with mutual respect for everyone, and making sure that we're coming up with these solutions that these experts from the bush...
Can I just say to our people at home, this young lady is appearing on television for the first time. This is one of the most extraordinary performances in articulating an issue that you could hear from any Australian. Forget age and forget gender. In the letter, Olivia said this to me, amongst many other things. It infuriates me that the Prime Minister claims he distributed $5 million to rural financial counselling. Although mental health is a critical issue, upon seeing a counsellor, a farmer will still return to his property with the same problem. He can no longer feed his stock. A rural financial counsellor cannot prevent rural centres such as Dubbo from running out of water and shutting their doors. I mean, you've seen your parents, haven't you, Olivia, and other farmers. They are so close to that, close to walking off. There is no future if something isn't done, is there?
And the problem is, Alan, that the federal government, this is no longer just about my farm. There's children all over the state that are suffering from the same circumstances. And it's, like you said before, it's not actually a performance, though. This is real people's lives, and it's a matter of national food security. So it's far beyond us now. We're told to hope for rain. Over the weekend, we got 4 mils, Alan. That's hardly a drought breaker, and it's disappointing and isolating out there, thinking that no one else is listening.
Disappointing.
I tell you what, the National Party, if someone in the National Party would give you a job right now, I know you've got school and all of that, but literally to come down to Canberra, pay your way down to Canberra and address the National Party party room, I think that'd be a step in the right direction, and I think someone should take you into cabinet, Olivia. It's incredibly important.
Absolutely, Peter. She said here to me, and this is a simple point, isn't it? A 16-year-old telling the nation how simple. Without farmers, Australia doesn't eat.
We're the primary producers of this country.
And that's the bottom line.
And if you look at the underlying budget numbers too, Olivia, if you strip out what agriculture delivers to us, we would be back in the red. There'd be no surplus in this country. When we had the GFC a few years ago, it was only the work of farmers like your family that kept us out of a recession, and I think we forget that too quickly.
Well, she made another point. When refugees are on the line, we're the first to put up our hands. When there's a cricket game, we all get behind the team, but we don't help our farmers. She says, Alan, explain that to me. Olivia, I'm sorry, I can't. And what would you then say? OK, you're talking to Mr Morrison, you've got 2 minutes. Go on.
I'd like to say that we, as the primary producers of this country, we supply the fodder and the fibres for the rest of the country, not only for the plates and of those in suburban areas, but we also provide for those overseas. We're a main contributor to that. And when those dairy farmers, they milk their cows every morning, that milk, that goes to the local coffee shop. When we look at our grains that we're supplying, that goes to the local bakery. And what happens when we no longer do that? Our local communities, they're dying. Regional Australia is collapsing in the eyes of our federal government, and we really need to see some action in order to prevent our country, the backbone of our country, our farmers, from dying.
This is amazing. This is Peter Credlin beside me here. She'll be embarrassed by my saying this. This is one of the most gifted women in this country. And she's just saying to me while Olivia's speaking, this is amazing. And it is amazing. I mean, you made a couple of very valid points beyond all of that. Just explain this one point about combining land and water. We know that in Australia now it's possible to own acres of water with no land, not even a tablecloth of land. You've made a very powerful point. Repeat that, please, Olivia.
Well, just elaborating on that, irrigation farmers, although they're a small part of the agricultural industry, these farmers supply such a vast amount of food for our country, and that we're neglecting them. There's water accessible and available, just our farmers are being denied that. So it's not the problem of our government at the moment that it was separated, but it's their responsibility, and also the opposition, to make them accountable to recombine that. Because what's the future of this country? Is it foreign investment coming in and taking, having no land, mind you, but being able to take water? And what happens when these farmers have no water left? All that it takes is for these foreign investors to be able to skyrocket the price. And
Olivia,
our farmers are off the land.
You're absolutely right, Olivia, and that's the biggest issue. We've got private sector outfits owning water which is equivalent to half the size of Sydney Harbour, and they just charge farmers an exorbitant amount. We'll keep in touch with you. You have inspired...
We absolutely will keep in touch with you.
And you have inspired and educated the nation, Olivia, and I could offer you no greater tribute than that. So we'll stay in touch. You're an inspiration to us all, a genuine young leader that this nation is desperately crying out for. We salute you and thank you, and we'll talk again soon. There she is.
Thank you, Olivia.